All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me. And in this episode, we're going to try to dig in a little bit deeper into that phrase that gets used quite a lot in detox circles, where you've got to open up your detox pathways. But what does that really mean, especially physiologically? And if you've ever had a bad reaction to a detox and wondered why some protocols work better for some people than others, this is going to give you some answers, I hope, and a better roadmap, actually. So again, we've all heard it. Don't detox until your detox pathways are open. And while that's true, I find most people don't actually know what those pathways are or how to know if they're actually functioning well. So, what happens when you mobilize toxins, but you don't eliminate them? And detox is not just about removal, it's about readiness. And when your exits are blocked, toxins don't leave, they just recirculate. And that's where people get stuck, or worse, they crash. So, that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's break it down. These are the 5 main exit routes your body uses to eliminate toxins. The colon is your main waste chute, is a good way to look at that. The liver, with help from the bile, is the main processor, and it attempts to transform fat-soluble wastes into a more water-soluble derivative for elimination. But as most of you know, that doesn't always happen, and that's why we're here. The kidneys will handle water-soluble waste, and you'll eliminate those through your urine. And the lymph and skin are going to both manage the drainage and sweat. Now, mitochondria power this entire system. So open means things that are working, but even one of these isn't ready, your body struggles to keep up. So how do you know when they're open? Well, are you pooping at least once per day? And this is kind of important. It's a topic we don't get into very often, but are you pooping regularly? That's a big one. And are you sweating when you exert yourself or get in a sauna? Is your energy steady, or do you crash after doing too much? And can you take a gentle binder like citrus pectin or activated charcoal without feeling worse? And these are all signs that your body is actually ready to process more. But if those systems aren't open, what happens? Well, the toxins don't just vanish, they circulate. You'll see things like headaches or pressure, nausea, skin rashes, or emotional swings. And in severe cases, people can end up with detox collapse, where the system simply just can't handle what's been stirred up. And that's not a healing response, that's a backfire. But here's the good news. You don't have to throw everything like the kitchen sink at your body to force detox. Instead, you prepare each system one at a time. You support your bowel regularity first, hydrate and use magnesium like magnesium citrate. That's really the best one for making sure you're regular. Then support the liver, use bitters, milk thistle, and B vitamins. Keep the kidneys supported with electrolytes and fluids, and move your lymph by dry brushing, castor oil, or mild exercise. And then support your mitochondria. Without cellular energy, detox just stalls. So prepare, stabilize, then mobilize. That's the trick here. And I will be uploading a guide to how to open your detox pathways after this session. So I do want to mention one thing about glutathione. It's a powerful antioxidant, and it is crucial for the phase 2 detox molecule that basically conjugates in the liver to mark something as a toxin that needs to be eliminated. But we really shouldn't overuse it. Daily long-term use of liposomal glutathione can really suppress your body's natural redox signals, and that can lead to issues. Instead, I recommend using it strategically after a sauna session, a niacin flush, or a big detox push like our full program. Precursors like NAC, glycine, and selenium are better for long-term use. And so use glutathione as a cleanup crew, not as a daily crutch. Binders are essential, but often misunderstood. They don't detox you. They just grab the toxins that have already been mobilized and prevent them from being reabsorbed. It's best to start with gentler binders like pectin or modified citrus pectin, activated charcoal, and chlorella to see how you react to them. Several need to be taken away from food, like or meds and supplements too, like activated charcoal and bentonite clay, because they can affect how those work. Zeolite usually doesn't affect things, by the way, so it's actually safe to take around food. And never use them if you're constipated. That's like putting a cork in a toxic bottle. Choose the right binder for the job. Citrus pectin for plastics and mycotoxins, zeolite for metals, and activated charcoal for general cleanup. And so when you've got solid bowel movements, you're sweating, your lymph is moving, and your energy is stable, that's your green light. That's when it's time to consider a deeper detox protocol. And like the niacin flush sauna detox, which is designed originally for firefighters. And, they get exposed to a lot of toxic smoke, but they cannot commit to a 30-day program at 2 hours a day doing the full program, unfortunately, because they really need it. It's a gentler, more flexible method that works on naturally mobilized toxins. It does combine niacin for the flush, sauna, and binders, but only after the detox exits are open. And you can do this several times per week or anytime you want to take a sauna. Okay. And there's no daily commitment. And if you want to learn more, I've got the niacin flush sauna detox also is going to be linked in the description of the video, but it's also in the file section of our Facebook group and also in the back end of our website in the members area. And so you'll be able to access the files from there as well. So with that, let's go ahead and open up for questions, and I'll stop sharing so I can see you guys. Looks like we got a good crew today. So thank you for joining me, guys. And anybody want to unmute and just start throwing out the questions?
Yes, it's Lisa. What's your take on zeolite?
I love zeolite. It's the most important binder we've ever found and used in the program. And there is a lot of misinformation out there about it. It's something that I've had to actually write the, if you will, definitive article on all the myths and why they're wrong. And I've even been corrected by the founder of, in fact, the pioneer for the use of clinoptilolite zeolite in detoxification. That would be Micotoxin. And he set me straight on something that I've always thought was not to be used, and that was metal. So he was saying that he uses metal spoons whenever he takes his product. And, if you look at the hyalotropin container, it actually has a warning that says, do not use metal. So that's something that, he says that that's just another myth. And so there's so many different things out there. You can find my article in the blog. It's basically titled Zeolite Clinoptilolite, Is It Safe? So I'm assuming that you're asking because you have some concerns?
No, well, I don't actually. I just wanted to get your opinion, but I definitely, is your contact linked in the Zoom, or how do I connect with you on something?
Yes, there will be a description for the video in YouTube that will have the link to be able to meet with me.
That sounds great. Okay.
Yes, in fact, one of the points about the zeolite that I think is important to understand for people is that it is often underdosed. So people want to experiment with it, and they think they should start off with maybe a little half teaspoon or something like that. And that is absolutely the worst thing you can do. You need to start with a full tablespoon and mix it with 8 ounces or 12 ounces of water. And I think that works out to like 255 milliliters, if I'm not mistaken. I don't do milliliters, but that's what I think it was. Anyway, you need to have water with zeolite. You need to drink a lot of water. So that's the best way to take it. And the 2 brands that I do recommend are the Zeolite Pure that Micotoxin produces, and also the Hyalotropin brand.
Yeah, no, I'd like to schedule something with you with a friend of mine as well, and definitely kind of compare some things. And I mean,
certainly,
but not
in fact, I'll just let you know it's heal.me/detox. It's really simple to get to my booking system.
It's sorry.
Heal.me/detox.
Okay. I got referred by Bill, because Bill's we've done some work. I guess he goes way back with you, but yeah, I will reach out, and maybe we can connect, and then I can share, or we can kind of compare some notes on some things on clinoptilolite. I'm very familiar.
All right, sounds good. I'll look forward to meeting you, Lisa.
Absolutely.
I saw somebody post a question in the chat, but it disappeared. If I can bring it up fast enough, unless that person wants to unmute and just.
Oh yeah, hi, that was me.
Hi, Colette.
Hiya, hi. Yeah, so it's very useful to go through all these sort of precursors, so to make sure you're kind of ready. Can you say a little bit more about how you kind of know right, this is kind of systems working. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, really, I think the detox symptoms that people report, especially when they're not doing a parasite cleanse or something where a Herxheimer reaction would be expected. So if they do something that is just a gentler cleanse, but it causes them issues where they may have headaches or they get just totally wiped out by it and things like that. That typically shows that the detox pathways are not actually fully open and ready to go. But even on our full program, most people can actually tolerate the program. But I do like to start people more gentler these days. I used to throw people into the full program and didn't even think about gut issues and making sure the detox pathways were open. But today we are seeing a lot more people who are affected by environmental toxicity and all kinds of different issues that are compounded. There's basically chronic conditions that start to stack. And so these all affect the detox pathways. And so, really, I think it's far more important today to really focus more on that. And that way, when you do go through our full program, you're going to have a much better experience. And I think a lot of this stuff is actually going to help to ensure that a lot of the toxins that don't get sweated out can actually be properly handled. And in fact, this is one of the areas where we go back to the zeolite and talk about how the liver is just not designed to break down most man-made chemicals and the heavy metals that shouldn't be in the body, like gadolinium from MRIs. And so what happens is the liver will reject them and it will basically bring them back into the small intestine to be eliminated through the feces. But because most of these chemicals and heavy metals are lipophilic or fat attracted, fat soluble, they're going to just go back into your system. They're going to reabsorb rapidly into the system before they can be eliminated. But if you're taking zeolite on a regular basis, especially on the program, like 5 times a day, 5 tablespoons per day now, then you'll find that the bile acids are going to get filtered. And that means that you're actually filtering the liver as well. But it makes sure that these toxins don't reabsorb and cause more problems. And so it's one of the most important steps on the program. But I actually recommend, even if somebody's not on our program, they should be doing something like zeolite as a way of making sure that they're doing a form of detox. Okay.
Just on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
I would do three tablespoons per day.
3 tablespoons per day. Okay. For how long?
Well, it kind of depends on what your goals are. I'm not saying that everybody should just be doing zeolite, end of story. It's a case of if you know that you've got toxicities and you're trying to improve your situation, zeolite is a really good way to start the process. And I am not a big fan of the bottled water versions of these, the nano zeolites and things like that. Frankly, I would rather have zeolite stay in the gut. And some of it goes systemic or into the blood circulation so that it can help to filter or chelate, if you will, some of the toxins that are flowing in blood. But for the most part, if you have zeolite in the GI tract, you're going to find that it's going to help to really filter the bile acids. And one of the best times to take zeolite is 30 minutes after a fatty meal, because it's going to be the most active period when the bile acids are trying to break down fats and oils from the food you've eaten, and they're going to be recirculating through enterohepatic recirculation these toxins back into the small intestine.
Excellent. And last question, you asked, you mentioned glutathione. I did a liver detox with coffee enema. Was
Okay.
that to stimulate the glutathione in the liver itself rather than taking it externally, I think?
Yeah, the coffee enemas are not my forte. In fact, when somebody's doing our program, I prefer they don't do both, during the same period, because the mineral depletion is a big problem.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Understood. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else want to unmute and chime in?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Michael.
Jumping on the glutathione as well, could you maybe elaborate a bit on that, Dan? What is this actually, and is it part of the detoxination program, like of this of this big suitcase of pills, the kit?
No, actually, glutathione has not ever been part of the detoxination program. It is something that if you want to get your system to be more prepared, you can definitely go down that path. I've never been a big fan, by the way, of like the liposomal glutathione because of how it gets right into cells and it bypasses some of the mechanisms that the body needs. So where it sounds like I may be contradicting what we were just talking about, just know that when it comes to glutathione, you really need the body to regulate that. And it's just like pH. Those are two areas that I don't want people, or I don't like for people to, be messing with. There's different parts of the body, for example, that have different pH levels and they need to be regulated by the body. And the glutathione is a similar issue. You just let the body handle glutathione. But what it does is it is actually a marker, and it tells the body that whatever has been conjugated with the glutathione through the liver is something that's marked for elimination either through the urine or through the feces. So it's one of the ways that the detox pathways, the phase 1 and phase 2 are actually making sure that these toxins can be eliminated. But unfortunately, like I mentioned, the man-made chemicals and heavy metals, the liver has no idea what to do with those, so it rejects them. And most doctors, by the way, will tell you that, oh yeah, the liver will just reject them or bring them back into the small intestine and you'll excrete them. But the problem is that they do get reabsorbed rapidly into the tissues. So they can just recirculate and cause more damage. So that's why the zeolite is my favorite tool to use for that.
Yeah, it works well for me, actually, the zeolite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Hi, Dan. I got a question.
Hey, Greg.
Is zeolite the only binder that works the 30 minutes after a fatty meal? Is that the only one that you recommend that path?
The reason I like zeolite so much is because of the different mechanisms that it uses in order to trap or bind with toxins. So the zeolite does have both absorption, which is like a sponge, where the material, the toxins are brought into sections, but it's the weakest point, the weakest type of bond. Then there's adsorption, where the negatively charged interiors of these aluminosilicate cages that are like honeycomb cages inside the zeolite are going to then attract positively charged toxins and draw them in, and they cannot be released. So that's the main mechanism. And then there's an ion exchange that goes on where there are materials like minerals, for example, calcium, magnesium, sodium, chloride, zinc, and others that come preloaded inside a zeolite. And because of their atomic weight being so low, the zeolite will release those in an ion exchange in order to pick up a higher atomic weighted, heavy metal or something along those lines. So it's got these different mechanisms that make it really able to capture a lot more toxins and get them eliminated for good. And again, like I said, it won't release them. There's a lot of misinformation out there about, zeolite may come with heavy metals. And I've even seen where, it's got gadolinium in it, which is the GBCA or gadolinium-based contrast agent for MRIs. And so that must mean that it's toxic and you shouldn't take it. In reality, it shows that it actually picks up gadolinium and all these heavy metals. But the reason that it cannot release them is because it takes temperatures, high temperatures, in order to release them. And I'm talking 400 degrees Celsius or 752 degrees Fahrenheit or more in order for the zeolite to let go of that stuff. So regardless of the horror stories that people are trying to write about, which I believe are, big pharma shills, to be honest, just know that the zeolite is the safest, but it really needs to be dosed in higher doses because you can run into trouble if you only, take a half a teaspoon or something.
Well, that I'm on board with. It's just more the timing. I thought like the clay is supposed to be 1 to 2 hours between meals and medication, but the zeolite you can pretty much take any time, and specifically 30 minutes after a fatty meal. Interos gel the same way. Is that really still more an hour or two rather than that 30-minute after a fatty meal?
Right. Yes. So the 30-minute tip, that's a tip and a trick, really, is something that zeolite is really primed for because it does not negatively or deleteriously affect nutrients. In fact, animal studies where they've fed the study group of cattle, for example, the zeolite, so it's in their food, those animals have a higher nutrient density than the control group that doesn't get the zeolite. So it's actually, and I believe that's the ion exchange aspect where it's releasing the good minerals to pick up the bad stuff. But anyway, yeah, the zeolite has that unique perspective, if you will.
Right. So with Enteros gel, don't try to hit 30 minutes after a fatty meal. Stick with the hour or two.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
But I do like the Anarust gel and bentonite clay for mycotoxins. Yeah, they or any biotoxin for that matter. They're much more suited for that purpose.
Well, I'm doing them both. And the reason I asked that question is because I screwed up and did Enteros gel 30 minutes after a fatty meal once. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to do that. So
Yeah,
we
it's
answered that question.
yeah, it's probably not going to be that beneficial, especially because it is more of a gel form, and that can coat the GI tract, and who knows if that's going to affect the villi or villi in the small intestine. But anyway, yeah, I don't think the Eneros gel would be the most appropriate one for 30 minutes after a fatty meal.
One little slip up. The rest of the time, I'm being a good pupil. So I'll leave it to the others now. Thank you.
All right, Greg, thanks. Good questions, though. All right, anybody else want to chime in?
Hi, Dan.
Oh, hi there.
We spoke a few times, I think, in the
Yes.
past. I've joined late, I think. So did I miss the discussion on the detox pathways, or have you not
Yeah,
done
it
that
was
yet?
it was
I
very
missed that.
brief. It was
Right,
very
okay.
brief. But I will tell you this, there is a document that's about to be loaded into the files section of the Facebook group, and it will be in the Forms and Information Center in the website. So you'll have access to it. It's actually a much more complete document. I do like to start these Zoom-ins with a quick presentation in case it helps to, spark any good questions and things like that. But today's, was pretty short.
Yeah, no worries. I bought the documents. Actually, I've been reading through that you released. But the reason I ask is, you have to forgive me. I have trouble getting my words out.
No worries.
Is because I think that's my main issue is my detoxification pathways are just stuck.
Mhm.
As you know, I've had a fluoroquinolone injury, and obviously that's a mitochondrial. There's
Right.
mitochondrial sort of insult there, but also because I've been sick for a decade now, best part of a decade, and I react to everything, food,
Hmm.
supplements, can't drink alcohol, things like that. It's like poison.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think that there's evidence that I've digressed a little bit here. I hope you don't mind me going into a little bit into my own background, but there's evidence that from the EMA did the review on fluoroquinolones, and there's evidence that they combine to divalent cations in the body. So they chelate things like magnesium, and as you
Hmm.
know, a lot of heavy metals can be classed as divalent cations. So I think what happened to me was I had a massive redistribution event, and the fluoroquinolones can penetrate deep into your body, into your brain, carry the toxins that were already in my body to vital organs, and they've been stuck there ever since. So I'm struggling to,
Typical symptoms from being floxed. Yes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
in fact, definitely you'll want to probably watch the replay of this. But the document, I don't believe I've actually already uploaded that one. You mentioned you read something, but I don't
You
think I've already.
you selling a document $5. It
Oh,
was to do with the detox program.
that's the gut one. Okay,
The
and
gut
that is,
one, yeah.
yeah. And in fact, I'd like to take this opportunity to mention the reason there's a price for that one is because in order for you to be able to access my links to the actual company, the Microbiome Labs, you have to be a client. That's
Yeah.
as a practitioner, I have to have you as a client. So if you pay me $5, you became a client, right? So
No, that was appreciated because obviously you don't get. I've had trouble getting access to supplements like that in the past.
exactly.
So
It's important to understand that that's the reason why there's a price for that one, and I tried to keep it reasonable. But
yeah, no, that's well spent. Yeah, $5 well spent.
but
But
this one is going to be free document for people in the Facebook group, as well as people who have signed up and registered on our website. And I'll actually have this one linked in the description of the video for this uploaded video.
But the question around that was, so how do I actually start? You know, I've tried zeolite at a low dose, I've tried zeolite at a high dose, I've tried the sauna, and you know, it was interesting to hear about the gut connection there, because I've tried various things to heal my gut to no avail. But if someone's having really strong paradoxical reactions to these detox methods, what would your advice be to sort of try and get over that hump?
When somebody's been floxed, there's a whole slew of issues that are associated with that, and you're experiencing them. So that's something that I don't know if I can give a one size fits all answer for that right now, but I would certainly work with the actual detox pathways as I've outlined in that document.
Okay, is that so? That's one to come, is it?
Yes, correct. I was going to do this show today, and then put the link to it, as well as uploading it to the file section after the meeting today.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
Catherine
Yes.
Miller, how you doing?
Hi, Catherine. Good. How you doing?
Good. I don't know if I should interject or not, but we're
Sure.
talking about again, healing your gut. Mary Jane, you know her situation,
Mhm.
and she got what I found is Dr. Kellyanne, the bone broth diet, that
Oh, yes.
totally healed her gut. So
Wonderful.
buy the book, and it takes you through. You can buy products from her if you don't want to make your own bone broth.
Mhm.
But I've recommended it to a lot of people, and they've had really good results. So I just wanted to interject that. I don't want to override anything you've got going on, but
No, that's fine. In fact, I think bone broth has a lot of amazing qualities. Unfortunately, though, there's a lot of people who are vegans that wouldn't be able to use it, but there's definitely value there.
There's also
absolutely.
with the flock situation, is a glutamate GABA balance is completely screwed. So bone broth is full of glutamate, and that spikes my symptoms. Like,
Yeah.
I have to avoid all glutamates whatsoever. So it's a bit of a there's constant barriers that keep coming up. Keep trying this thing, and a barrier will appear, and then I'll try something else, another barrier will appear. So it's been quite difficult.
Yeah, there's a lot of compounding issues when you have been floxed. I get that. So unfortunately, not it's like I said, there is really no one size fits all for these things, including our program, by the way. You know, detoxination is not a one size fits all. There are plenty of conditions where we need to make modifications, and being floxed is one of them. Gadolinium toxicity would be another one. So you know, just to give you some ideas, or just to mention the fact that I put the protocol in the book because I want people to understand how it works and what it's been able to do. But there are plenty of people who I work with that need special modifications, and that's why, you know, over all these years that we've been working with the program, we've identified how we can change or modify the protocol. And I've documented everything. And so when I train people to become detoxinicians, then they get access to all of the ways to modify the program that we've been able to prove work. So, okay. Anybody want to chime in?
I imagine, Dan, that you've seen those mycotoxin binder charts floating around the internet at some point.
I know that I've actually put some out there too.
I bet. I'm curious your thoughts on, in the context of mold toxicity, when you have like all the pillars of detox in place that you just went over, how you feel about zeolite for different mycotoxins, and whether or
Yeah,
not.
you know, zeolite's not the ideal scene for mycotoxins. There are, you know, definite binders. NRS gel, like I said, is one of them. There's prescription ones like cholestyramine, you know, that are great. But the thing is that, you know, I prefer to work with a broad spectrum of binders when I'm working with people, because sometimes you don't even know if they've had mold toxicity, and that may be an underlying issue. So I prefer to use binders that, we can basically work towards, especially when we do know that they've got mold toxicity. Then we know we can work with bentonite clay or andros gel or cholestyramine if they've got a prescription that they can use. But there's definitely different affinities, like I mentioned, for these different binders. And so I have a pretty comprehensive chart, and it's something that I make available to my detoxinicians. It's so that they can work better with their clients. But I haven't really considered actually making that available to the public because it's ongoing as far as the information that becomes more available. We update that chart all the time. So I hate to put one thing out there and have it be like the end all be all for a binder chart, but it's a pretty comprehensive one.
Cool. When someone has those 5 pillars covered, like, is there a good way to assess if someone is detoxing well or not? In the context of mold, you'll see like people that say they can't detox until they're fully out of it, and that some people have to abandon all their belongings and get rid of all their clothes to be able to detox. I was curious your thoughts there because I'm concerned around. I want to start your program, but I'm concerned about mobilizing stuff too quickly and feeling worse.
Right. When it comes to the mold mycotoxins, that is a big issue that's out there. And with our program, we do detox the fat-soluble mycotoxins, and also the heat of the sauna is able to help with any thriving spores that are growing in the nasal cavity, which is the coolest part of the body. It's where most opportunistic pathogens get their start. But the thing is that it's not designed to deal with the actual thriving spores elsewhere in the body. There are other protocols for that, and this is again not something that our original program was designed to deal with, but it does deal greatly with the mycotoxins that are fat stored. But I would not necessarily look at our program as being the one that you would choose above all else for mold. To be honest, it's really not what it was designed for. It's designed for heavy metals and man-made chemicals. But we do know that it detoxes the mycotoxins. And then when you add the binders that are made for the mycotoxins, then you get a much better effect. But if you're having such an issue with, even getting started because of redistribution or the what are now termed as Herxheimer reactions, any detox symptom seems to be thrown under the Herx response. But anyway, if you're dealing with that kind of issue, then definitely you want to be looking at the making sure that those detox pathways are open and your gut is in good shape and all that. But I think everybody is different in their responses to things like our detox. So it's a definite case where when you know that you're not ready, you should not start. So work with the document that I'm about to upload and see if that does help.
Makes sense. Thanks so much.
You're welcome, Eric.
Do you think there's a chance of the zeolite actually entering the bloodstream if you have like a compromised gut lining or gastritis, something like that?
Actually, it's more about the micron size. So anything less than roughly 10 microns is capable of getting into the systemic or into the blood circulation. And so that's not a problem. In fact, that's one of the desired goals. But what we don't want is for the zeolite to go intracellular like the nano zeolites claim to do. The reason for that is because the negatively charged zeolites are going to potentially disrupt positively charged elements inside the cells. And there's no simple mechanism for the zeolites to exit the cells except for lipolysis and rebound lipolysis. So the thing is that I would rather not have the zeolite go into cells, but definitely if zeolite gets into the bloodstream, it's going to act as both a binder and a chelator, which is another neat thing about it because the micron size matters, and that's why you see me recommending with hyaltrophin, the 3-xTMA, or with the zeolite pure. In general, their micron sizes they have a nice range, and some of it stays in the gut and some of it goes in the blood circulation. So if it goes into blood circulation, then it's filtered by the kidneys and released through the urine. So it's essentially not a problem for zeolites to get into blood.
Excellent.
Good question, though. I appreciate that.
as for the gut terrain reset program that you were talking about in the last session, do you actually have any experience already with patients that are using the Microbiome Labs products?
Personally,
I've
no.
tried so many approaches like that, and I'm with you because you try a different approach. At least for me, none of these probiotic and pill-based approaches ever did any improvement for me. So I'm just wondering what's different about this Microbiome Labs, or if you have any experience already with other people.
Yes, great question. In fact, the reason that I even bring this up is because I went through a training program. It was a pretty expensive training program that the expert, the microbiologist Kiran Krishnan, he's the guy that actually is, I think, the most well known for the gut and the microbiome. And after I went through the training, I realized that the gut is really an underserved, if you will, by our detoxination program. It's underserved. So it's something that when I went through the training, I realized I need to start helping people to get their gut in shape. And so I have yet to see any of the people I've been working with report back how their experience has been. It's way too soon for that. So, but I understand your concern with that. But if you actually look around at, the studies, the research, and things like that, and then also their testimonials, they have a really good reputation. And in fact, you know how if you buy a car, for example, or a white something or other, you start to notice a lot more of those cars on the road, the exact same model and color. Is your brain just starts to notice that. I have seen so many places where the microbiome labs are appearing, and that's a really good sign. It shows that they are, as I thought, the most respected and trusted products out there. So, in fact, my wife is using them. So we're seeing how she does with it.
Yes, yes. Okay. Well, I found out that one difference to other products seems to be that the probiotics are spore-based, meaning that they do actually survive the stomach acid and actually make it to the big intestine, to the gut.
Yeah.
Michael, I can testify too that switching to that probiotic was massively helpful in my journey.
Yeah.
I was on Garden of Life for about 5 years prior. I'm so happy I switched to Microbiome Labs.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the testimonial there.
Yeah, just start slow if you're sensitive for mold toxicity. They have a A258 that's just one strain of the spore. I had to like sprinkle it on food when I first started them.
Thank you, Eric, for this encouraging feedback.
Yeah. And I once I started paying attention to Quran, I was quite aware that this guy is the absolute expert, and that's why I decided to go ahead and pay for his training. And it's something that like I said, we've never focused on the gut or even the detox pathways. It's mostly because when we were working with patients at the Sacramento Occupational Medical Group, it was because they were coming in for acute toxicities from workplace injuries, and we wanted to get them detoxed right away because to this day, there's really nothing in the medical literature on how to detox chemicals. And so we would see PCBs and other types of chemicals that were, basically poisoning people in acute injuries from workplace accidents. And so we were basically just detoxing people with the program without even thinking about their gut health or their detox pathways. So as I've brought this to the public, it's become much more of a concern that I'm embracing. So my background is totally from the occupational medicine world, and so it's been quite the journey that we've all been on together, and it's been quite the experience. So, and in fact, it's always a constant learning curve. There's always something to learn about this, but that's why I want to share, what I'm learning as I go. So.
Of course, I understand that. Thank you, then.
You're welcome, Michael. So,
Dan, with the gut
Yeah.
with the gut reset protocol, I'm inching towards the end of my third round with your protocol. Do I have to wait 2 weeks to reset the niacin resistance before I start that program?
Oh, just the 2 week break between programs is
Yeah.
literally for just allowing the body to return to homeostasis. Because, when you're on this program, you're in a heightened state of sympathetic mode or the flight mode. And, we want you to come off of that and allow your body to return to homeostasis. It also resets the niacin so you can start back at a smaller dose, like 100 milligrams, and work your way back up. But again, 2 weeks is minimum. There's, you can certainly wait a lot longer between programs, but that's the minimum. Now, as far as doing the detox program and then starting one of these other programs, the gut microbiome program and things like that, I don't see any reason why you need to wait 2 weeks to get started with something like that. It's more, like I said, about letting the body return to homeostasis. So, I mean, think about it. You're liberating toxins at 3 times normal levels during most of that time, up to day 27, for example. And then you're doing the heat stress of sauna. You're also probably, some people are exercising for maybe the first time in their lives. They haven't done a whole lot of activity like that. And, it's generally just more stressful for the body when you're doing all that. Therefore, it's best to give your body a break, especially between these programs.
Well, I haven't looked at specifics of the gut protocol yet, but I thought it involved niacin and sauna as well, the 6 week
In a different
protocol. So that's why I wonder if I had to wait between programs.
Okay, in the case of that one, you definitely need to wait a week in order to get the niacin to reset back to something more practical, like 100
Okay.
milligrams. So yes,
Yeah.
that's a good question. And the niacin flush sauna detox is not liberating anything new. While I say that, there's going to be a little bit, but it's not a rebound lipolysis. It's basically when you've got mobilization of lipids in any way, shape, or form, there's going to be some toxins, but it's not like you're doing a 3 times normal levels like rebound lipolysis does. But with the niacin flush sauna detox, it's mostly dealing with what's already bloodborne. And again, anytime your body's producing ATP energy, and there's a process called lipolysis where triglycerides get broken down into glycerol and 3 fatty acids for the fuel mitochondria use to produce ATP energy, there's always going to be toxins liberated from fat. In fact, that's why chelation works, because there's always some toxins that are being released whenever the free fatty acids and the glycerol are going out to fuel other cells in the body that didn't have fat, like the triglycerides, and they need to have that fuel to allow their mitochondria to produce ATP. So this is why the body has always got toxins flowing in the blood circulation, and why the niacin flush sauna detox can actually do a better job than just sitting in a sauna. So you're essentially getting them pushed out to the dermal regions where you can see that obvious flush where the blood has been pumping in much larger quantity, and so they're pushing those bloodborne toxins out there to be sweated out. So that's actually a good point. The first week after a detoxination program, you need the body to reset the niacin. So good call there.
So 1 week. Okay.
1 week.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, 7 days is usually what the body takes to, a maximum. Probably by day 5, you'd be fine. But, it's nobody's the same. So everybody's going to have different results.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Okay.
that's interesting what you just said about the rate in which you're liberating toxins. Because when I used the sauna just as a test, obviously I had a bad reaction and it set my neurological pain off. But perhaps that's because, I was liberating toxins and they weren't able to get out because I wasn't using the niacin. So they're just like being recirculated.
Actually, in your case there, it's more likely that because your heart rate increases whenever you're in a sauna, a sauna that's at temperature, you're going to have some actual mobilization of toxins. There's going to be, the bloodborne toxins are going to get pushed around the body, and they can affect areas that, are getting maybe overwhelmed by them. So it's not uncommon for this to happen even when you're not doing niacin. All niacin is going to do with the niacin flush sauna detox, one produced for firefighters, is push those bloodborne toxins out to the skin area where you can see that redness, because that's all the additional red blood cells. So that's where the niacin flush comes into play. But doing sauna does also increase the heart rate and pushes bloodborne toxins out and around the body. So if you're not doing binders and not staying in long enough to sweat, you're not going to sweat everything out in one sitting, by the way. So you're mobilizing them and then maybe getting some of them out, but there's still going to be a lot that are just going to be circulating around and redistributing and affecting other parts of the body. But zeolites and other binders can certainly help to improve the situation.
Cheers, Dan. Yeah, that's what I'm just really hesitant to, as you know, I'm quite scared to try things now. So, but I think maybe if we've got all those, pieces in place, the zeolite, the niacin, then maybe there'd be less of a chance for me to get that redistribution event.
Yeah, it's tricky when you've been fluxed. It truly is. So that's one of those areas. I guess also benzo toxicity can be kind of lumped in there as well. These are things that really affect how somebody experiences sauna, detox, and all of these other things. So it does add a compounding layer.
Could I ask about the sauna?
Certainly.
Yeah, because I've noticed that there's an import. I think there's an import duty because I'm in the UK for the heavenly sauna. Do you have any recommendations for the UK in particular?
So in the UK,
Yeah.
yeah, in the UK, I believe you can get Sunstream, and I believe they still make the Essential line from Clearlight. Those, if I'm not mistaken, Clearlight still has their Essential line for the European market. It's similar to the Premier line that they have, the far infrared only, in other words. But I think they use a different type of wood, so it's a lesser expensive sauna. But I believe Sunstream is shipping to the UK. That might be something to look into because they're Canadian.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Mhm.
Sunstream and Clearlight. Yeah. Thank you.
And if you do, order from Sunstream, please let them know I sent you.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, so we've got maybe another 10 minutes. Any other questions?
I have heavy metal and mold toxicity. Do you recommend detoxing one before the other, or can I detox at the same time?
That's a great question. So our program is actually the full detoxination program is like to say broad spectrum as far as stealing from Monsanto. We don't really care about the different toxins in the body with this program because they are all going to be affected in a positive way by how rebound lipolysis works. So it's not like you detox one and then you focus on the other. When you're doing our program, these toxins that the liver cannot break down and eliminate through normal detox pathways are essentially able to be dealt with this program. It may not be the one-time deal. You may have to do the program 2 to 3 times. That's always been the case, really, because the studies show that a 30-day program will detox about 1/3 of the body burden. So, many times people need to do the program more than once to get the kind of results that they're hoping for. For me, back in 1986, it only took one, but back in 1986, we weren't being as poisoned as we are today by the food industry, big ag, big pharma, all of that. I mean, literally, the toxin loads that we're seeing today are incredibly higher than what we've ever seen in the 80s. So I was able to get through the program in just one. Now, I have done our program throughout the years multiple times. I sauna daily, like it sounds like you may be doing. But the thing is that I find that saunas have been the best tool for good health that have ever been created. And I guess for 3,000 years or more, this has been a known thing, especially in the Scandinavian countries and, Europe and all that. They know about the power of saunas, but most Americans are just now figuring it out. Fortunately, I've had a sauna in my life since I was 10 years old back in 1973. And so, I grew up around them, and it makes sense that they are very powerful. But once we got involved with the detox program and how niacin, the pharmacokinetics of niacin, how that works, it became an incredible program. And so again, broad spectrum. It's just a case of whatever doesn't get handled by the liver will probably wind up in the fat stores. And so this is the primary area that the program actually deals with. But that does not mean that water-soluble toxins aren't being dealt with the program as well. You got to consider that there are things like glyphosate, which is water-soluble, gadolinium is water-soluble, and these are things that the liver can't deal with, but they wind up in fat. And so the process that we have actually does liberate those and gets them out of the body as well. And there's another mechanism, by the way, that is not usually discussed, but I'm finding that it's becoming more and more important to discuss it. And that is how the emulsifiers that we use on the program, like the lecithin and the evening primrose oil, these are helping to actually mobilize these lipophilic toxins through watery media, or aqueous media, like your interstitial fluids, your blood, your urine, and your eccrine watery sweat. So we're able to actually utilize the different channels that are more watery, where lipophilic toxins would normally be hydrophobic. They'd be like, I don't want to go there. But the emulsifiers on the program are actually helping to get those out as well.
Okay, I like it. You're
Okay.
you have already saved my life.
Oh,
So
thank you.
I've been prepping for you for months, and I think I'm ready to take it to the next level.
Well,
And
I
just
look
kinda-
forward to hearing how things go. Are you working with me?
I'm going to be. I'm coming for you.
All right. Well, I'll look
So
forward
I've
to
been
it.
on your site and following you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. This is much more rewarding than being the IT guy. So many of you may not even know my background was IT. So since 1985, I've been in the computer industry. Isn't that right, Ken?
Sorry, I got my mute on. Of course, anything you say is perfect.
Thank you. Just for the fun of it, Ken is the guy that got me involved with the computer industry back in 1985. So we go back a ways. But
Well,
anyway,
and his dad, Dr. Rood, I was in a bad car accident, and I learned how skilled he was as a physician when he was trying to put my back together for me. So and that's when I first got exposed to learning about the detox, because it was at that same center.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yep. And so I sold the computer system to my father's practice from working with Ken, and then promptly left Ken to go work for my dad, which was because you got to consider back in 1985, computers were an unknown thing to most people. They'd never even seen one before. And here I am installing a 4-station computer system in this medical office. And you got to remember, too, Windows wasn't a thing. DOS was just, going through its phases of, is it PC DOS or is it MS DOS? But the thing was, there's no standardizations. So people had no clue what this computer was supposed to do. And I had to go to work for them and basically get them, or get the system implemented, get the data inserted, and get the people trained up on how to use it. And that became pretty much my start in the computer industry. But I wound up having my own business that I even ran out of my dad's practice for a little bit. But the thing is that I was also the person who wrote the first database tracking system for the detox program. So any blood tests and any heavy metal testing and things like that were all being tracked, and results were being tracked. And it was my database program that I wrote for them that was tracking all that. So I was working really closely alongside these folks that were doing the detox program and learning everything I could about it, and hoping someday we'd figure out how to take it from a 5-hour-a-day program into something more manageable. So 2 hours. I know some of you are looking at 2 hours going, that's a lot of time per day, but just know I went 5 hours a day on this thing. And it was an average of 21 days, but I went through a 33-day program. And it was a game changer. It was such a profound change in my world that if I had not gone through that, you and I would not be here today. So, and in fact, just to mention that what's called N phenomena is what I hit. And for those of you who've never heard that term, it was a period where, or the moment that I had an overall sense of well-being, high energy, stamina, and performance, brain fog lifted that I didn't even realize I had. And then there was the IQ testing that we used to do pre and post detox. My IQ reclaimed 10 points. I love to say reclaim because I feel like they're stolen, with the toxicity. Other than that, my color vision, my sense of smell, my sense of taste became so much more vivid that if food was prepared properly, it smelled and tasted better than I'd ever experienced. And my dreams became more vivid and I remember them better. And this was 1986. And ever since then, I really don't get sick. I have all of that still going for me. I do the program every once in a while, like every 3 years, I'll do a 14-day version of it. And then also Sauna daily. And so I can tell you that at age 62, I feel like a healthy 30-year-old. And literally, like I said, if I did not get there, this would not be something you've ever heard of. So with that, anybody want to chime in?
I got to chime in and say thank you. I appreciate it. My wife and I have been through the program twice. We're getting ready to go through a third time. So yes, big differences.
Yeah. And I think the reason I brought up the IT thing was because I was saying that this is far more rewarding what I do today than actually, servicing computers and installing networks and updating operating systems and things like that. Oh my gosh, this has been an actual love that I've developed working with people to help. And, when I had the center, I was only able to work with a few people at a time. And now that I do remote detox coaching, I'm able to actually support hundreds of people around the world. And I'll just give you an idea. At any given time, I'm working with at least 350 people around the world on the program at any given time. And I'm able to do that because of how the technology has progressed to the point where I can use Zoom, I can use Google Sheets, and I can, send out PDFs and things like that. But literally, this has been the best thing that has ever happened to me to be able to help you guys. So with that, we probably ought to wind up. It's been an hour, but does anybody have a question they would like to get in before we close down? All right. Sounds like we're good to go, guys. Well, thank you all. It's been a nice size group today, and look for the video to be posted probably within the next
Thanks,
2
Dan.
days. You're welcome, Greg. Thanks for joining us. And so again, everybody, thank you. And I will see you on the next one, which is going to be on the third Tuesday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So have a good rest of your day.
You too,
Thank you.
Dan.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.